ke tiro e leng gore e diriwa jalo ngwaga jaaka
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? Housekeeping rules. We would like to draw your attention to a few important safety and event-related information. We have emergency services available on site at Court 6 and Court 7 on the ground floor. Please take note of their locations. Our emergency exits are marked on both sides of the courtroom and on the front of the courtroom. The emergency assembly point is on the front of the High Court. Should an emergency arise, the incident manager, Mr. Mutsumi, the facilities manager, will alert us and guide us through the next steps. We have the VVIP bathrooms for our VVIP guests and are located on the right side. Let me show you where they are demonstrated. You have to move to the side of the courtroom. And to our members and invited guests at the foyer, we have the we have our ablutions located past the elevator behind the security area. And if you need any assistance or any questions during the event, please feel free to approach any of our protocol officers who will be happy to serve you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. Ma? Ke supe jalo gore mo nakong e sa hediseng pelo moatlhodi mogolo wa kgotla ya ditsheko Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe o tla simolodisa semmuso jalo ngwaga wa ditsheko wa 2025 o tla itse jalo gore ngwaga le ngwaga baatlhodi ba lehatshe la Botswana ba ya go ikhutsa ka kgwedi e le ya December mme ba bue ka kgwedi yone ya February go tla go simolodisa jalo tiro ya bone ya go ntsha dikatlholo jalo le go reetsa ditsheko mme ba ra jalo gore mongwe le mongwe yo e leng gore o bata jalo go ta go itsheka o buletswe jaanong go ta go itsheka mme ga se re gore makgotla a ditsheko a ba tswaletswe ruri ka kgwedi yone le ya December le January makgotla a ba ntse a butswe mme bangwe ba baatlhodi ba bo ba ya ko malatsing a boitapoloso mme re soletse jalo gore moatlhodi mogolo wa kgotla ya ditsheko Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe jaaka e tla bo e le la bobedi a simolodisa jalo ngwaga wa ditsheko o tla itse jalo gore o na tlhomiwa ngwaga o hitileng mme e tla bo e le ngwaga wa bobedi jalo a ntsha pego a lekudisa botona baemedi ma mahatshe botautona ba pele ka seemo sa boatlhodi mo lehatsheng la Botswana mme ke supe jalo gore mo nakong e hitileng o na supa jalo gore go na le matshwenyego jalo ka ditsheko tse leng gore di a diega mo makgotlatsekelong a supa jalo gore ba tla simolodisa jalo tsone di-criminal court tse leng gore di ta itebaganya hela le ditsheko tsa criminal o tsa borukuthi jalo a supa jalo gore ba tla simolodisa gape tsone the commercial courts gore ditsheko tsotlhe tse leng gore di dila le tsa dikgwebo jalo di seka di a kopana gone go hokotsa tiego e leng gore e ntse e le teng mo makgotlatshekelong. Ra bona jalo mo ngwageng o hitileng Tautona Advocate Maboko a ikanisa jalo batlhodi ba le ba rataro ba kgotla ya ditsheko se le sone e le mangwe a maiteko jalo a go hokotsa mokwako wa ditsheko tse leng gore di saletse ko morago mo makgotlatsekelong rena ra bona jalo Tautona Advocate Maboko jalo a tlhoma attorney ngaka gae e le ene director wa DPP e le ngwe la lekalana le leng gore le botlhokwa hela thata mo go tsa bosekisi me a tlhoma jalo the Mr Dick Bayford e le ene the Attorney General re soletse jalo gore a tle a bue mo tsatsing la gompieno ga mmogo le mogolwane wa the Law Society of Botswana re lesedi moahi go tla go hapego le ene ka tseleng gore jaaka tla bo a emetse ba bueledi ba ileng gore ga se ba puso. From Motho tla ke boe ke go amogele jalo mo kgotleng kgolo ya ditsheko ya Gaborone go ile gore mo nakong e sa fediseng pele re tla ba re soletse jalo gore moatlhodi mogolo wa kgotla ya ditsheko Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe a tle a lekudise setšhaba a simolodise jalo ngwaga wa ditsheko mme a ba lekudisa setšhaba ka seemo sa botsogo jwa bosekisi mo lehatsheng leno mme mo nakong ya gompieno ke na le mmega dikgang o ileng gore o nna thata mo makgotlatshekelong mme o itse dikgang tsa makgotlatshekelo go tla go buisana le ene ka gore what can we expect in this year legally le gone gore mo ngwageng o hitileng gona go buiwa dihi re sologetse jalo gore moatlhodi mogolo a te a tolose jalo dingwe tse ileng gore ona di bua mo ngwageng o hitileng ke gone gore the establishment of the criminal court and the commercial courts tse ileng gore di ta leka go hokotsa mokwakwa o ntseng o le teng wa ditsheko tse ileng leng gore ba boeledi ba ikemetseng ka nosi ba ne ba lela ka tsone mo dingwageng tse di hitileng mme re ne ra bona jalo mo ngwageng hitileng gape Tona Advocate Maboko a thoma baatlhodi jalo ba le barataro ba kgotla kgolo ya ditsheko mme Rachel Sibinyane tla ke tsena go ke go leboge ke be ke go amogela
ke a leboga Mpolobusi
re ka re mo nakong e hitileng Chief Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe o na nankola di hela mo speeching sa gagwe sa 2025 ke tlhaloganya gore ne le speech sa gagwe sa ntha ha e sala a tlhomiwa go nna Chief Justice.
Yes go ntsalo Mpolobusi o na bua ka dikgang tse di botlhokwa re tse leng gore lephata le la boatlhodi tota di a le itemogela o na bua ka backlog e leng gore e teng mo nakong ya gompieno ba santse ba mekana le yone mme tota re na ra bona jalo a kere last year ka September ba establish mo re go bitsang re criminal court e leng gore it's a specialized court e leng gore e tla be di la tota hela specifically with criminal cases re tla tle re bone di murder trials le bo manslaughter lo di diragadiwa gone ko so se re se boneng gape se diragala Mpolobusi o na supa jalo gone gore ba itemogela dikgang tsa gender based violence di le go godimo thata le di murder ya no e le gone gore ba berekisana le ba sepodisi sa Botswana ba berekisana jalo le ba DPP go bona gore ba tlo go dira jang kana that was last year ha speech sa gagwe so re ne ra bona ya no mo ngwageng o hitileng wana e nna gone gore the establishment of the criminal court so the establishment of the criminal court ya ka re supa ile ka go hokotsa mokwa wa melala e leng teng so ne ra bona gape ba establisha a high court ko Mahalape kana kgaolo ile ya Mahalape phalapele ga ena high court so ile yone tsela ya go leka go hehosa dikgang le go tlisa justice closer to Botswana re bone ba establish the high court there also the other thing se leng gore o na supa gore se teng o na supa gore di judge mo high court di a tlhaela tota capacity ya di judge tshwanetse gore in 30 mme maloba ha re biditse jana ka January o na supa gore ba kgonne gore yanong ba hire bo judge ba oketse so now ro operate ka di judge di le 30 in our judiciary so se leng gore o se supa ile phitlhelo e tona ba gape a supa jalo gone gore le ko court of appeal e ne ntse e reketla capacity ya teng e tshwanetse gore in 12 but ba se ba hitlheletse seo so these are the things se leng gore tota the Chief Justice o na supa jalo gone gore ke maikaelelo a bone gore ba di hitlhelele mme ha re leng teng gompieno ke dumela jalo gone gore e tla re hape go wa go baya Batswana mo dinakong ka dikgantsone tse leng gore ba di hitlheletse the other important thing Mpolobusi se leng gore o na se mention maloba ha re biditse re le bobega dikgang o na supa gone gore kana re na le challenge mo dikhote tsa rona the records management system ga ibereke ha o batla thuso ya gore o batla go bona judgment ya 2009 ga o kwa access gonana ga o kwa e bona so o na supa gore ba tsene mo tirisano mmogo le ba abused gore ba developele a system e leng gore e tlo go ba thusa jalo gone gore Motswana e re ya le go gae hela a kgone go accessa sa se batlang ka di case go nne motlhogo
re ka re mo go tsone di development tse leng gore o di supile jalo a gona le pharologanyo e o e bonang mo di tshekong tse leng gore a gona le bohego bongwe jo bo bonang o le mmega dikgang wena e leng gore o tlhola mo makgotlatshekelo
yes ke itumela potso e Mpolobusi because kana re gakologo le gone gore a re tse murder trial for example murder trial can go up to 10-12 years selo se leng gore Chief Justice bile maloba o na gatella gone gore kana re tshwantse re tlhaloganye gore dikgang tse ya ka di le hapele ga makgotla a ditsheko ke matshelo a batho a iphitlhela a ema because bana le dikgang tse leng gore di hapele ga dikgotla tshekelo so ka ha ke bonang ka teng ha e sale the criminal court e launchiwa ka September go na le progress e leng gore ya iregala o tla gakologola gore there was a major or high profile case e neng e le teng mo lekgotleng la rona e leng gore re ona a dirisitse ngwana ga go botlhaso so kganyeo e ne ya ema e le kganyela gone gore e tle ye go atlholwa ko high court but after the criminal court is na go establishwa ne ra bona kotlhao yeo intshiwa re bona di trial di diragala ke atla ke buiana ke ntse ke re Mpolobusi ke re we are going to be seeing the case di tsena di diragala ebile this year we are going to be seeing high profile cases re na le mmeda wa kokopong re na le trial le gore it's still ongoing gompieno ya ga ofengwe selaolo a woman who is accused of killing Clifford Mochocho that is one case e leng gore Batswana ba emetse go bona the outcome ya yone ga ya bolo go diragala ka 2016 but with the establishment of the criminal court re tlo bona di-cases tse di tsena dikatlholo di tswa le dikotlhao di diragadiwa.
Regarding what are some of the cases they can be the highlight of 2025?
gore re di bone di nna teng mo makgotleng a rona ke tsone dikgang tse e leng goreng borre ba dirisa bana botlhaswa re bone last year gape re na le di-death sentence di le 3 tse nneng goreng ne di tswa ko Francistown. Like I'm saying, Mpulubusi, let's see what this year holds for us because yaka ke bua there are bigger cases tse leng gore they shocked Botswana ha di diragala. For example, a re tse ya ko molepolelo ya 2018 the Ramantosha murder trial. That is a trial e leng gore re mongona a accuswa ka gore o bolaile batsadi ba gagwe le monnawe. So that is one trial e leng gore Botswana ba emetse. And you would remember last year gone gore Chief Justice una super gone gore the other challenge e leng gore go lua thata ka yone e bile ele Law Society of Botswana ke khanya gone gore there is a lot of delay when it comes to go ntsha the judgments. So una super malobo gore rena le di judgments tse 68 tse di tshwantseng gore di ntshiwe ke di criminal court judges. So maiteko a teng right so di khandi teng di a tsena hapela ga makgotla a ditsheko Botswana ke dumela gone gore they are going to be seeing the cases tsa bone di tsena di be di wela ka nako.
Okay, mo ngwageng wa 2026 ja ka re soletse gore mo metsotsong e sa hediseng pelo Chief Justice o tlantsha pego e leng gore e supa jalo e le bokao ja gore Botswana jaanong ba ka tla go itsheka go simolodisa ditsheko tsa bone re ka re soloheleng mo pegong ya ngwaga wa 2026 se e leng gore wena o bona a tshwanetse go se ama.
Yes, se se botlhokwa right so ke gone gore how does the administration of justice bring justice closer to Botswana. So o tshwanetse gore a sure Botswana ka kganyone e gone gore how do Botswana access justice go le motlhogo go sa baturele o na supa jalo gone gore maikelo go establisha high court go kgalagadi. So ke tsholofelo ya menna tota ke gore a re kaele gone gore ba khonne eng gape ile the judiciary ba go dira jang go tlisa tshepo mo Botswaneng because una supa jalo gone gore as the judiciary they are independent and they should be accountable ebile go super accountability ya bone ba tlo go leka jalo gone gore ba nne ba bitsa ba bega dikgang ngwaga le ngwaga. So Chief Justice o itlamile right mo speeching sa gagwe sa last year a re bolella gone gore wa go na bitsa ba bega dikgang ngwaga le ngwaga go tla go buisana le bone go ba begela e le tsela ya go super accountability. So he should really state clearly tota gone gore what are their key priorities sentle ba le lephata what are they going to do go ensure gone gore Botswana ba nna le tshepo mo the judiciary ebile gape Botswana they access justice timely and ebile go sa ture.
Gone mo kganyeng ya timely justice re ka re kgwetlho ke the judiciary e le nosi kana ba na le sabe ba harologaneng ba tshwana le mapodisi ba tlhotlhomisi le bone the DPP gona le tiego mo go bone kana gona le ha ileng gore ba ka le ka go itlhabolla mo ngwageng wa 2026 go yempele.
This is a very important question tota. I appreciate this question because kana ha gongwe re tlhaloganyeng di tsamaiso ka ha di tsamang ka teng wish Botswana ba ka tlhaloganya gone gore di process di tsamaya ka lentseng jang motho o dirile molato ditlhotlhomiso di a dirwa ke ba sepodisi ba mo tshwara a ba tla iswi go lekgotleng la ditsheko jaanong gone gore e go chargiwa ka molato one wa ileng gore ngwa o lebisiwa o. So ha ke ntse ke lebeletse dikgang tsena right so kgang e leng gore e teng go tsa challenge e leng gore e teng ra the delay sentle ha go mo itla ile gore ena le ba e go ba bosekisi le bone ba makgotla a ditsheko. I'm going to give you a real example. So se se kgonang go dira we'll be having a murder trial. Go lekiwa go setiwa di dates yaanong gone gore when do we continue ha ba re ba leka go seta di date ha ba lebella di diary tsa bone the nearest date yaanong e setse e tserwe they have other cases gore that is the challenge e leng gore e nna teng and ke tsone dio tse leng gore ha gona ope o leng gore wa bana le control over them. So mathata a leng teng hela ke gone gore go iphitlhela le gone gore both parties sometimes di diary tsa bone ga di letle and I wish how Botswana could really understand those challenges they are just beyond everyone else.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
e le jalo mmegadikgang wa tsa makgotlatshekelo me Rachel Sibinyane a tlhalosa jalo gore o solhetseng mo pegong ya tsatsi la gompieno go tsweng kwa go Chief Justice a ya dile bontle hela thata a re netse dikai tse di harologaneng tsa the criminal cases tsa 2025 tse leng gore they stood out for her ka ngwagole wa 2025 mme a supa jalo gore o solhetse gore the Chief Justice a le moalo jalo wa ponelo pelo ya gagwe mo ngwageng wa 2026 mme ke supe jalo gore mo nakong e sa fediseng pelo re tla utwa pego kwa go Chief Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe jalo go tla go simolodisa semmuso ngwaga wa ditsheko wa 2026 ke go gakolole jalo gore moletlo o tseneletswe ke baemedi ba mahatshe botautona ba pele le botona ba gompieno magosi aha le babueledi ka go harologana ba puso le ba ikemetseng ka nosi go tla go utwa jalo gore moeteledipele yo e leng gore o ba iteletse pele o ba tshwaretseng mo la gompieno mme Botswana wa etsho ke supe jalo gore nna o ntse o lebile jaaka re tla bo re ntse re go tisetsa thulaganyo ka kwano go tloga go simolola jalo mo lefelong le le ka kwano mo kgotleng kgolo ya ditsheko mo toropong ya Gaborone. Re soletse jalo pego go tsweng kwa go Chief Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe jalo go tla go lekodisa setšhaba ka botsogo ja lephata la bosekisi ke supe jalo gore morago ga gore a bue re tla nna jalo le pego go tswa go Attorney General Mr. Dick Bayford ga mmogo le mogolwane wa Law Society of Botswana yo e leng gore o tla tswelela jalo le ene le kodisa setšhaba ka mathata e leng gore ba kopana le one e le babueledi ba ba ikemetseng ka nosi mme mo nakong ya gompieno ke na le makastrata go tla gore tlhalosetsa jalo ka dikgwetlho tse e leng gore ba lebagane ke tsone le ditsheko tse e leng gore ngwaga wa 2025 ba ne ba dila le tsone jalo makastrata tsa ke tse nako e ke go leboge ke supe jalo gore re lebogelana kwa gago
ke a lebogarra
re ka re sologeleng mo pegong ya the Chief Justice mo ngwageng wa 2026
ke dumela gore gompieko ha moatlhodi mogolo e leng the Chief Justice re Ketlogetswe a bua gompieko le sologela gore a itsise setšhaba gore mo ngwageng o hitileng re kgonneng re kopane le mathata ahe mme ebile maikaelelo a rona go a go pele ke go baakanya seemo ka tsela e ntseng jang
Go le gantsi mathata a leng gore a buiwa thata from the law society me ebile le gone from the government side e nna gone tiego ya ditsheko tse leng gore di a diega mo makgotlatshekelong di ka tlholo di tsana go etelle o le makastrata o ka re mathata a matona ha kae mo this process ya go seka go hella o bone ka tlholo a gago.
Mathata a leng gore re phithela leng gore re lebagane lone mo makgoteng a rona ke gore bodiredi ja rona bo a thaela, that is the human resource. Ga rena babereki ba leng gore ba lekane gore ba ka kgona gore ba tsenelele dikgang di dirwe ka bonako di bo di helele.
Alright. Le ka re le ka go dira yang gore dikgang tse di harologaneng tse leng gore le ha tshela Botswana le lebagane di tsone jaaka gontsho ya bong le bo makastrata le dira eng go leka go heisa dikgang tse.
Se leng gore tota se se tona se leng gore makastrata wa se dira mo dikganyeng di tshwana le tsa gender based violence kana gontsho ya bong ke gore a re etse dithakoro tsotlhe ka bobedi tsa yo leng gore tsa dikgang tse leng gore di tabo di le gape le ga gagwe mme go tswang ho a ba a tsa tshwetso e maleba a lebile bosupi jo e leng gore bota bo bola gape le ga gagwe mme ebile go dimo ga moo go bo go supa ka dikatholo tse e leng gore ra dintsha re lebile bokete ja kgang e leng gore re tabo re ne re lebagane le one kana bogalaka ja go dira molato jo e leng gore motho o ta bana bo dirisitse kana go eo.
Moatlhodi mogolo o supile jalo gore kgwetho e nngwe e leng gore e ntsi thata ke gone go tlhoka record keeping e leng gore ditsheko ga o batla tsheko e leng gore kana ka tlholo e leng gore e kile a diriwa ka ngwaga ole wa 2015 2016 ga o ka kwa e bona o ka re go ka dirwa jang gore go lekwe go tlhabologiwa go tlhabololwa seemo se le gone gore maranyane a ka dirisiwa jang go tlhabolola kgannye le gone go itokahatsa.
Ke motho ke rata potso e boditseng ka gore ke motho e leng gore ke rata maranyane mo nakong ya gompieko re le administration of justice re partnerile le ba Boost gore re kgone gore re dirise maranyana a AI gore go ya ko pele dikgang tsotlhe tse e leng gore di tabo di tsena di tabo di recodiwa in real time mo go rang gore ga go tlhokane le gore motho a tswe mo lekgoteng e le mokwaledi wa lekgota a ye go simolola a kwalolla se e leng gore se ne se buiwa se diragala mo teng ga lekgota e tabo e re hela ha motho a tswa mo teng ga kgotlatshekelo record ya gagwe be setse le ready.
Tla ke go leboge. E le jalo makastrata yo e leng gore ka tsatsi le letsatsi o dila le ditsheko tse o ntsha dikatlholo jalo tse e leng gore di ama matshelo a Batswana mme mo nakong ya gompieno jaaka o bona mo ditshwantshong tsa gago re toga re simolola jalo mo kgotleng kgolo ya ditsheko re solhetse jalo gore moatlhodi mogolo wa kgotla ya ditsheko Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe a tle a role pego mme a simolodise semmuso ngwaga wa ditsheko wa 2026.
The Acting President of the Republic of Botswana, Mr. Ndaba Nkosinathi Gaolapelwe, the Honorable Chief Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe, the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Dithapelo Ketlogetswe, former President, Lieutenant General Dr. Seretse Ian Khama, retired Chief Justices Maripwin Dibotelo and Terence Ranwani, Honorable Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Mr. Nelson Ramaotwana, Honorable Ministers here and present, the Honorable President of the Court of Appeal, my Lady Justice Tebogo Tau, Assistant Ministers here and present, the Honorable Leader of Opposition, Mr. Dumelang Salishando, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Kgosi Arnold Simolekai of Phase 2, Honorable Attorney General, Mr. Dick Bayford, Deputy Permanent Secretary to the President, Ms. Matsidiso Bokole, Honorable Justices of Appeal, Honorable Judge President of the Industrial Court, Mr. Diratsahai Bennett Molomo, your ladyships and lordships, judges of the High Court and Industrial Court, retired Judge of the High Court, Justice Abednego Tafa, the Ombudsman, Advocate Stephen Tiroyakosi, President and members of the Customary Court of Appeal, Commander of the Botswana Defense Force, Commissioner of Police, Commissioner of Prisons, members of the Judicial Service Commission, Chief Registrar, and your deputies and assistants, your worships and of the Magisterial Bench, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Justice and Correctional Services, Ms. Naledi Moroka, all permanent secretaries here and present, the Governor of the Bank of Botswana, Mr. Lesego Moseki, the members of the Tlegi, Chairman of the Law Society of Botswana, Mr. Lesedi Moahi, members of the Bar, senior government officials here and present, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. The Honorable Chief Justice, allow me to invite the call of order by the Chief Registrar of the Administration of Justice, Mr. Mompati Taulo.
Oye, the annual opening of the legal year of the High Court of Botswana for the year of our Lord 2026 is about to commence. If there be anyone who knows anything concerning any persons indicted before this court, let him come forward and so inform the Attorney General, for their ladyships and lordships, the judges of this court, to stand upon their deliverance. Pula.
Thank you, Chief Registrar. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hofaone Morain, Chief Magistrate, Mogoditsane Magistrate Court, and I'll be co-directing these proceedings with the Deputy Registrar, Ms. Bonolo P. Kimorwale of Lobatse Division of the High Court. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to highlight that this is a moment of a reflection on this day, and to start off the day, we would need to have a religious ordination by our two clergymen, and we will have prayer invocation by the Reverend Metlayotle Beleme of the Anglican Diocese of Botswana. And the scripture sharing will be by Pastor Muliki Mohokwani of Aruka House of Restoration. Mr. Belem, you may give us the prayer invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious and just God, as we begin this new legal year, we pause and seek your wisdom and guidance. Bless all who serve in the courts, the legal profession, and in the pursuit of justice. Grant us charity of mind, integrity of heart, and compassion in judgment. May truth be our constant aim, fairness, our judging, our guiding principle, and the dignity of every person our unwavering commitment. Strengthen us to uphold the law with courage, to defend the vulnerable with empathy, and to work tirelessly for peace and reconciliation. In moments of challenges, grant us patience. In times of uncertainty, grant us discernment. In all things, let justice and mercy walk hand in hand. And so go before us, Lord, with your most gracious favor in all our doings this morning. Guide and encourage us with your continual help in all our works that began now, continued and ended in you. We may always seek to glorify your holy name through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Your Lordship, distinguished judges, magistrates, legal practitioners, and fellow citizens, allow me to stand on the established protocol. As we gather to mark the commencement of this legal year, we do so under a theme that is both humbling and demanding: the court as a public service. To speak of the court as a service is to speak of a high calling. In the biblical tradition, leadership and authority are never granted for the benefit of those holding power, but for the benefit of those they serve. In Matthew chapter 20, verse 28, we are reminded that the greatest among us is the one who serves. If the court is a public service, then the judge, the magistrate, and the lawyer are in the truest sense public servants. And the product of this service must be justice, not as a luxury for the few, but as a right for the many. The laws of Botswana, which form the laws of God, which form the bedrock of our modern legal system, have always emphasized that justice is a service owed to the vulnerable. In Zechariah chapter 7, verse 9 to 10, the word says, "Administer true justice, show mercy and compassion to one another. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the foreigner or the poor." When we view the court through the lens of public service, we must ask ourselves difficult question. Is our service accessible to all, or is it a premium service reserved only for those with the means to pay? A public service that is only reachable by the wealthy is a service in name only. If the poor struggle to find representation because they lack money, or if the powerful can interfere with the wheels of justice because of their standing, then the public nature of our service is compromised. In Proverbs chapter 31, verse 8 to 9, the legal practitioner is given a clear mandate: speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. This is the ultimate standard of public service. It is a challenge to ensure that the courts in Botswana are places where the voice of the person in the village carries the same weight as the voice of the person in the boardroom. As you begin this year, I challenge every legal practitioner here to reflect on the public in your service. Service means removing the barriers of cost and the complexity that keeps the poor in the shadows. Service means standing firm against interference of the powerful, ensuring the law remains a shield for the weak, not just a sword for the strong. Service means remembering that you are custodians of a divine trust. When the court functions as a true public service, it reflects the heart of God, who is described in Psalms chapter 9, verse 9, as a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. May this legal year be defined by a renewal of your commitment to the people of Botswana. May you see every case not just as a file, but as a human soul seeking fairness. And may the court be a place where justice is not bought or sold, but freely and faithfully served to every citizen, regardless of their social standing. May God grant you the spirit of a servant and the heart of justice for all. Amen.
I rise to thank you, Reverend Metlayotle Beleme and Pastor Muluki Mokokwane. Ladies and gentlemen, as it is custom, I will invite the address by His Lordship, the Honorable Chief Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe.
Dumelang bagaetsho. Dumelang tabathong. Ka rangwela wela akanya gore ke tio le ira sa last year. Ke le ba ha ngwa ga othe. Nya gompieno ba nkgalemetse. Ba nkgalemetse ba rile ke ska ka ba botsadi ha musagarote. Immediately ba nkgalemetse ba ne ba hetella ka gore ke le tswa mine le gore se ke ta se buang se tlhalosetswe Batswana go gae gore ba rutwisise jaanong ka maswabi ga rena go nna le tolokollo tota nna ke amogela gore ga se nna ne ke diegile nako e ne go diega go tolokolla nya me ke a le leboga batho betso ke leboge directors of ceremonies of today ke leboge le baruti ba me Reverend Beleme le Pastor Mokokwane ba ba re buletseng tiro e ka gore kopela mo modimong gore a re ba balele puo ya me le lona e tla bo e kwadilwe ka sekgowa yaanong le intshwareleng gore ke tabo ke tšhoma mme tota ke le tswamne le gore ke ka bua hela ana ke bua Setswana gore mongwe le mongwe a nkutwe. Your Excellency, Acting President of the Republic of Botswana, Mr. Ndaba Nkosinate Gaolate, the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Dithapelo Ketlogetswe. I normally call him Sticks when we are not in a formal gathering. Former President of the Republic of Botswana, Lieutenant General Ian Khama, who also is my Khosi. Ukila mpolela songo ko parliament a itse a ke le sebetse. Antare nya kana na bana ntsana a bona re le batho ba mi. Ke ke nya ke a uta mongane. Retired Chief Justices, my colleagues, Justice Marupindi Botelo and Justice Terence Ranwani, the Honorable Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Mr. Nelson Ramaotwana, Honorable Ministers here present, I have seen all of you, Minister of Sports, Minister of Health, and others. We thank you for having graced this occasion. My sister, the Honorable President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Tebogo Tau, Assistant Ministers here present, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, and my friend, Mr. Dumelang Salshando, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, thank you so very much for gracing the occasion. I see all of you and we appreciate your attendance here. I know some of you have been quite good friends. For instance, the ambassador of China has been able to see that we are short of resources and gave us a few chairs for use by the judges. Give him a round of applause. Khosi Ame Totahanya Phase 2, Khosi Arnold Somalekai, the Honorable Attorney General, Mr. Attorney Dick Bayford, and my very good friend, Deputy Permanent Secretary to the President, Attorney Ms. Matsidiso Bukule, Honorable Justices of the Court of Appeal, Honorable Judge President of the Industrial Court, Mr. Diratahai Bennett Mulom. I don't know why they left paper, but it's okay. Retired Judge of the High Court, and my friend Justice Abednego Tafa, the Ombudsman. No, I will not say other things, Advocate Steve. I will not say other things. You know, you and I come from far. I always say that, but today I will spare you the agony. Members and President and members of the Customary Court of Appeal, Commander of the Botswana Defense Force, General Mpo Churchill Muputing, Commissioner of Police, my sister Dana, you are there. Commissioner of Prisons, my friend Anthony. Members of the Judicial Service Commission, Chief Registrar, and your deputies and assistants, your worships of the magisterial bench, all permanent secretaries here present, Governor of the Bank of Botswana, Mr. Lesego Kasta Museki, members of the clergy, I have already acknowledged you and I acknowledge all members of the clergy who are here, Chairman of the Law Society of Botswana, Mr. Lesedi Moahi. But he's my good friend. Members of the bar, senior government officials here present, members of the media, our very dear friends who make sure that our messages reach our people in the wider breadth of this country. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, I will start off by asking the attendants here today and other members of the public who are watching these proceedings either on TV or online, that as I commence my address for the opening of the legal year 2026, let me take this moment to request that we remember members of the Administration of Justice staff who sadly passed on. I note with sadness that during the past legal year, we lost 4 of our staff members, our colleagues in the Administration of Justice, who had all dedicated their time, skill, and energies to serve this nation. And these are Justice of Appeal, Honorable Singh Walia, Her Worship, the Senior Magistrate Sahamezi Basinyi, Mr. Hamezi Likula, and Ms. Taulo Tapelo of the Franciscan High Court. The late Ms. Taulo Tapelo was particularly a person very close to me. This is because I had worked with her from 2012 following my appointment as a judge of the High Court. She was the pilot who chauffeured me around for many years, except when I was posted to Gaborone and Tolobate in 2016 and 2019, respectively. May their souls rest in eternal peace. We have also sadly lost other members of the legal profession. That is during the past year. On another note, the country lost the late Honorable Micas Chibombi, who was the Minister of Lands and Agriculture. Sadly, the country also witnessed the passing on of the former Assistant Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Setomo le latisitswe, and former Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Christian de Graaf. Just recently, Mr. President, we received the sad news of the passing on of Khosi Rebecca Banika of Pandamatenga. The country has also lost many other beautiful souls, some through road accidents, others through criminal or natural causes. As a small nation, everybody knows almost everyone, and the passing on of one person never goes unnoticed. On behalf of the judiciary and on my own behalf, Mr. President, I wish to convey our deepest condolences to the families of the departed and wish them God's mercy and love. And may the souls of the departed receive God's mercies and rest in peace. On that note, Mr. President, may I request that we all observe a moment of silence in remembrance of those who have since departed. And I'll ask the House to rise for a few seconds. You may remain seated, madam. Thank you so very much. We may take our seats. Mr. President, I will start with a note of appreciation. In the past year, we have witnessed a change of guard at the Botswana Defence Force, with the retirement of the former commander of the BDF, Lieutenant General Plasidi Sohoko, and the appointment of General Mpho Churchill Muputi as the new commander of the Botswana Defence Force. For many years, the judiciary has had a very good and professional working relationship with the Botswana Defence Force. We wish to convey our well wishes to Lieutenant General Sohoko in his retirement, and in equal measure, congratulate General Muputi in his new assignment. We wish him well and assure him of our unreserved and unconditional support to the BDF's Office of the Judge Advocate General, particularly in relation to the recently launched reformed court-martial that will be leading the provision of judicial and legal services in the military, and in the promotion of military justice, in a democratic dispensation such as ours, grounded on the Constitution of Botswana and the rule of law. Sir, we congratulate you very heartily. May I take this Yes, thank you so very much. May I take this opportunity to also congratulate and convey my well wishes to the newly appointed Attorney General, Mr. Dick Bayford, and the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Khosi Ngakagai. In terms of the Constitution of Botswana, Mr. Dick Bayford also automatically becomes a member of the Judicial Service Commission by virtue of his position as Attorney General. I also congratulate Mr. Oseho Harebamonu, the newly appointed government attorney. I also wish to congratulate Mr. Lesego Kastamuseki on his appointment as the governor of the Bank of Botswana. We wish him well in his new assignment. We have also, as the judiciary, Mr. President, witnessed very important appointments in the judicature. Justices Motswagole, Liburu, Moroka, Litsididi, and Dr. Sidney Pilani were appointed to the Court of Appeal bench. Join us, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, in congratulating them. In addition, excuse me, excuse me. In addition, I'm sorry. It probably has to do with the judges who have just been appointed. Yes. We have never had this incident until their attendance today. Yes, in addition, Mr. President, Judges Sigweni, Ms. Sigweni, Mr. Muthala, Ms. Moatswi, Mr. Landa, Ms. Mukibe, Mr. Tsekiso, Mr. Muncho, and Ms. Abram were appointed to the High Court bench. Through you, Mr. President, I ask the people of Botswana to join us in congratulating their lordships and ladyship. We also congratulate Mr. Mompati Taulo on his recent appointment as the Chief Registrar of the High Court. And in that capacity, he is also the Chief Administrator of the Administration of Justice, having taken over from Ms. Biula Mguni, who has since joined the Office of the Ombudsman. We wish to thank Ms. Mguni for her stewardship while she was at the helm of the administrative arm of the judiciary, and wish her all the best and success in her new assignment. The Judicial Service Commission, Mr. President, which is a constitutional body responsible for recommending the appointment of judicial officers and providing general strategic leadership to the judiciary, has also seen the appointment of Mr. Kabo Mutsahole as a representative of the Law Society of Botswana in the place of the now Justice Tsekiso. We have also seen the appointment of Ms. Sylvia Muzila in her capacity as the chairperson of the Public Service Commission, replacing Mr. Samuel Leero, who had served in the JSC for many years, and to whom we wish to convey our heartfelt gratitude. Mr. Philbert Nagafela has also joined the Judicial Service Commission following his appointment by the President. We congratulate them very heartily and wish them success in their new assignment. On a similar note, Mr. President, one of our judges, former Judge Justice Dr. Zain Kepanang, has since left the judiciary and joined the public service as an ambassador. We congratulate him and wish him success in his new assignment. By way of introduction, Mr. President, just as we gathered here last year on a similar occasion, that is the opening of the legal year, we are again here today to update the nation on our activities in the past year and account on that which we set out to do. This is also an opportunity to give a brief overview of what we have achieved, what we have failed to achieve, and why. We also have to put our plans on the table with the hope that our people will reflect on our future plans and voice their views on what they would have wished us to do instead going forward. Our plans, Mr. President, are capable of review and or realignment, depending on what the immediate priorities would be at any given time. Now, coming to the theme of this year's legal year opening ceremony, the theme is the court as a public service. This theme, Mr. President, speaks to three things. It may speak to more, but we have identified three. The court, meaning the administration of justice, the public as a direct recipient of judicial services, and lastly, the nature and character of the service itself. This theme serves as a reminder that the judiciary, although an independent arm of government, is an institution that exists to serve our people. A healthy democracy relies on courts that are effective and efficient, accessible and accountable to the public. The role of the court is not only to punish wrongdoing, but it is also to provide fair, efficient, transparent, and impartial justice that is entrenched in constitutionalism and the rule of law and both. The judiciary continues to be a neutral arbiter in resolving disputes between litigants, including, where necessary, holding government institutions accountable, as well as shaping the legal standards to ensure that justice conforms with societal needs and the foundational precepts of the Constitution of Botswana. Now, what are the highlights of the year 2025? Mr. President, honorable ministers, members of the National Assembly here present, your lordships and lordships, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, the administration of justice remains focused on our vision to become a world-class judiciary by 2036. As evidenced by our continued efforts to strengthen the efficiency of the courts and improve service delivery by forever re-engineering our processes and taking justice closer to our people. We continuously employ measures that enhance access to justice for all, whilst improving our accountability mechanisms to boost public confidence in the rule of law. The month of January 2026 marked a year since my assumption of office of Chief Justice of this Republic. To this end, I would like to highlight and reflect on the milestones achieved by the judiciary during this time, and also to reflect on the challenges we have encountered. I start off by briefly stating that when we started in 2025, we set out to improve service delivery by reviewing our processes, filling up vacant judicial posts, and delinking the office of the Master of the High Court from that of the Registrar of the High Court. We also undertook to resuscitate our computerized court records management system, as well as restructuring the offices of the magistracy and the registrarship. We undertook as well, Mr. President, to account to the nation by way of holding an annual Chief Justice press conference. Above everything else, we undertook to reposition the judiciary as a credible and dependable institution in a democratic society. In addition, we pledged to involve our key stakeholders in the operations of the judiciary, in particular, the Law Society of Botswana. Some of the questions that we are going to have to answer today are whether or not we have lived up to what we had promised to do. Judicial appointments. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, on the recommendations of the Judicial Service Commission, the judiciary saw the appointment of 5 new justices of the Court of Appeal. These are the Lordships Justice Motswagole, Sepo Motswagole, Michael Liburu, Lord Moroka, Mudirisa Abelo Lizidiji, and Dr. Sydney Sepo Bilan. Sepiso Bilan, I'm sorry. The Court of Appeal has now reached its full complement of 12 justices, 10 of whom are locals, and the other 2 are Justices Nkabinde and Cameron, who are retired justices of the Constitutional Court of South Africa working on contracts, and who have graciously agreed to serve in our Court of Appeal. Furthermore, 7 judges, being their lordships and ladyship judges, Ms. Felicity Sigweni, Mr. Otem Muthala, Ms. Nomsa Moatsui, Mr. Bapin Landa, Ms. Lena Mukibe, Mr. William Saatla Munchu, and former Attorney General Ms. Mako Mpelakang Abram were appointed to the High Court bench. The High Court has also reached its full complement of 30 judges, inclusive of 2 temporary judges. Mr. President, I think it will be remiss of us if we did not mention that as an organization, with the exception of the recent appointments to the Court of Appeal bench, the Judiciary, through the Judicial Service Commission, has taken a deliberate position to increase the complement of women judges in our courts. As evidenced in the appointments to the High Court bench, 4 of the newly appointed of the 8 judges of the High Court are women. We wish to state here and now that this trend will continue even with respect to appointments to the Court of Appeal and any other court that may be established in the course of time. By this, I'm not saying my colleagues in the male category of attorneys should feel that we are going to discriminate. You will also be considered, but your lady colleagues will have an edge all the time. And still in line with that spirit, due to the pressing need to transfer Judge Ntomiwa from the Maung High Court to the Gaborone High Court because of the mammoth task we have assigned to him to lead our reform agenda, Justice Jennifer Dube will be transferring to Maung High Court, where she would lead that court as its judge president. Judge Dube will be the first woman judge to hold the position of judge president. We congratulate you. These appointments, Mr. President, have also enabled us, as at September 2025, to establish specialized criminal courts in Gaborone and Francistown. The appointment will also put us in a good space in terms of our long-held desire to establish a specialized commercial court, which is planned to start operations by the beginning of March this year. The envisaged commercial court will deal exclusively with commercial cases. This is intended to help facilitate the government agenda of promoting the ease of doing business in Botswana, which is key to attracting credible investors, both domestic and foreign. We also believe that specialization in commercial cases will not only lead to a speedy disposal of those cases, but also that it will lead to quality justice delivery and development of quality jurisprudence in that area of the law. We assure Botswana that specialized commercial court will leverage technology and alternative dispute resolution mechanisms and principles, in particular court-supported mediation and court-annexed mediation, to expedite dispute resolution in a less expensive way. This judicial appointment also indicates our rapid response to the national outcry on the delay in the delivery of judicial services, which in many instances has resulted in a failure of justice. It is our belief as well, Mr. President, that with specialization, this will strengthen the quality of judicial decisions, over and above enhancing our ability to deliver judicial services as expeditiously as desired by our people. In the year 2025, the Judiciary further benefited from the appointment of Mr. Mompati Taulo to the Office of Chief Registrar. This sounds like a repetition. I'll skip that paragraph and move on to the establishment of the courts, of the new courts. Mr. President, in our address in the year 2025, we made a pronouncement that we shall open a high court in Mahalape to service the central region of Botswana. It is now my pleasure to confirm that on the 4th of November 2025, the High Court sitting at Mahalape became operational, and it is currently housed at the Mahalape Magistrates Court. The court is headed by Justice Michael Mutlabi as its judge president. I wish to express my profound gratitude to the government of Botswana, which, through the Ministry of Finance and the Directorate of Public Service Management, offered the necessary support and speedy response in resourcing this court. I must also point out that through the efforts of the area member of parliament, who also happens to be the Assistant Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Mr. Augustine Nyatanga, and the District Commissioner for that area, Mr. Ernest Piri, and other private entities like Mogul Catering, who have donated 10,000 pula to the project, and those who are still considering our plea for private partnership assistance like Murupile Coal Mine and Naledi Mining Services, the project is on course. We continue to urge for credible partnership in this regard and other upcoming projects. In our pursuit for a world-class judiciary, as envisaged in our vision, we saw an urgent need for us to establish a criminal court that will deal solely with and exclusively with criminal cases. The court has divisions in the north and south of the country. It is a well-known fact that due to the backlog of cases facing our courts, criminal cases, particularly those involving capital offenses, take a long time to complete. This is an undesirable state of affairs, as it compromises the rights of accused persons to be tried within a reasonable time and further disadvantages or traumatizes those affected by these crimes. In this regard, Mr. President, the criminal court commenced operations, as already stated, on the 4th of September 2025. The Southern Division sits at the Broadest Magistrates Court, and the Northern Division sits at the Francistown High Court. The Southern Division comprises 6 judges, being Justices Mr. Mutumise, Dr. Radijeng, Mr. Putero, Mr. Mutala, Mr. Landa, as well as myself. It is headed by Justice Mutumise. The Northern Division comprises 3 judges, being Justices Ms. Slave, Ms. Moatri, and Mr. Tsekiso, and it is headed by Justice Slave. Now, stakeholder engagement. Excuse me. Mr. President, we continue to work very closely and in a very cordial and respectful manner with our key stakeholders, particularly the Law Society of Botswana, chaired by Mr. Attorney Lesedi Moahi. The Law Society of Botswana has been very instrumental in constructively critiquing our programs and our processes. The Law Society has issues, for example, and understandably so, with the manner of appointing judges in Botswana, and have called for a more transparent process. We agree with them. And we, as the Judicial Service Commission, have asked the Law Society of Botswana to come up with a position paper on the appointment of judicial officers for our consideration. And we will continue to engage. It will be recalled, Mr. President, that last year we acknowledged, in line with the complaints raised by the Law Society of Botswana, that there were some delays in the delivery of judgment by some of our judges. We promised to urgently attend to that issue and deliver the outstanding judgment. There has been substantial compliance by almost all of our judges, except in respect of 1 or 2, and with whom we have had an engagement. I will not mention their name except for one that we have had an engagement with, and it is none other than the speaker here. We have also engaged our stakeholders through the judicial conference, Mr. President. Following a hiatus owing to the COVID-19 pandemic and lack of funds in the years immediately thereafter, without holding a judicial conference, the Judiciary finally held a judicial conference on the 30th of July to 1st August 2025 at Palape. The objective of the conference was to provide a platform for in-depth engagement with our critical stakeholders, as well as to formulate resolutions that would inform our collaborative program in the justice sector. Some of the key resolutions were the following: that the administration of justice should develop a homegrown court records management system. The process of resuscitating the computerized court records management system has commenced. We are in engagement with the Botswana International University of Science and Technology, that is BUST, to develop a modern, multifaceted computerized records management system which will provide a benchmark for most of the government institutions in Botswana. And we are very serious about this. We are going to provide a benchmark of a homegrown computerized system. The process is currently at the initial stages, and it is spearheaded by our own people, Bana ba rona, ba Batswana, who are experts in the field. Our hope is that the system will be in place before the end of this legal year or before the end of the coming financial year 26-27. We also resolved at that conference, Mr. President, that the judiciary should endeavor to fill all vacant posts in the organization in order to improve service delivery. That, as I have already stated, we have achieved in respect to the Court of Appeal, the High Court. We have filled all vacancies in the magistracy, and we have filled all vacancies in the support staff. And at this point, Mr. President, we can report without any fear of contradiction that we do not have vacancies in our organization. It was also resolved at that conference that the Master's Office be delinked from that of the Office of the Chief Registrar to improve its resourcing and to improve access to the services through establishing Master's Offices across the country. I will deal with this subject during the course of this address. Let me deal with our involvement with stakeholders coming from the international community and regional partners. On the 11th to 18th of October 2025, Mr. President, the Judiciary of Botswana hosted the Southern and Eastern Africa Chief Justices Forum. This is an organization of 16 Chief Justices from the Southern and Eastern African jurisdictions, of which Botswana is a founding member. The core objective of that body, Mr. President, is to uphold the rule of law, democracy, and independence of the courts or the judiciary in member jurisdictions. It is through interactions such as this that our judiciary is able to benefit from the experiences that demonstrate shared values, as well as standing in solidarity with the sister judiciaries in upholding the rule of law in our region. The conference was officially opened by the President, Advocate Duma Gideon Boko, and officially closed by His Honor, the Vice President, today the Acting President of the Republic of Botswana, Mr. Ndaba Nkosinati Gaolapelwe. This on its own, Mr. President, not only raised the profile of the conference, but also demonstrated the government's commitment at a very high level to support the judiciary of Botswana and the mutual respect between the three arms of government of this republic. The Judiciary of Botswana also signed, on the sidelines of that conference, a memorandum of understanding between our judiciary and that of the Republic of Namibia, represented by their respective Chief Justices, that is myself on the one hand, or on one side, and Mr. Chief Justice Peter Shivute on the other hand. This memorandum of understanding, Mr. President, will help our two judiciaries to cooperate and share the best practices in areas of ICT, among others. We also held a colloquium on the role of the judiciary in curbing financial crimes. And this was in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance, the Financial Intelligence Agency, the Institute for Combating Illicit Financial Flows, they hosted a colloquium for the justices of the Court of Appeal of Botswana on the role of the judiciary in curbing those crimes. The colloquium brought together resident justices of the Court of Appeal, retired judges from the region, experts on anti-money laundering, and renowned academics in discussions aimed at raising awareness and exchanging ideas on how courts could tackle cases of financial crimes in the international sphere. On the 6th of November, on the 6th of November 2025, Botswana, in collaboration with UNICEF and the British High Commission and the Ministry of Justice and Correctional Services, held a colloquium for all judges of the High Court, the justices of the Court of Appeal, on the multi-sectoral standard operating procedures for child-friendly service justice system. The colloquium was aimed at sensitizing and equipping judges with knowledge and skills necessary for handling matters concerning children affected by or in conflict with the law. Again, we wish to thank the government's efforts in always taking a leading role in facilitating the courts in the discharge of their constitutional mandate. Performance of the courts. Mr. President, it will be remembered that we made an undertaking to this nation that it will become our culture to account to the nation on the status of the judiciary outside the strict and often rigid confines of this occasion. To that end, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, on the 20th of January 2026, we held a press conference where we interacted with members of the media and discussed issues affecting the administration of justice. We discussed, amongst other issues, the performance of the courts in the years since my appointment, as well as the challenges that hinder our progress as the judiciary. The media raised a number of concerns, like the issue of bail in respect of repeat offenders. We assured the public through the press conference, Mr. President, that bail is a matter regulated by law. That is the Bail Act number 4 of 2024. And that courts will ordinarily be averse to granting bail to repeat offenders. This will, however, depend on a number of issues, amongst which will be whether or not all the material and relevant facts have been placed before the court by the prosecution. Once again, I hereby express my gratitude to our media houses for always heeding our call to inform the nation, whilst at the same time holding us accountable on behalf of the people of Botswana. Additionally, and it has now become a norm, we have prepared an annual report for the year 2025. The report will be distributed to our key stakeholders, including to yourself, Mr. President, as well as to members of the media. The report contains detailed statistics on the performance of the courts for the year 2025. And I wish to encourage all of us to read it, and that you should hold us accountable in terms of that report. Restructuring of the judiciary. Mr. President, we have found it prudent and particularly urgent that in order to improve efficiency and timely delivery of justice, we should have a relook at our personnel structures and determine ways of improvement. This, we believe, will go a long way in bringing judicial services closer to the people and improve the general quality of the services that we offer. Just to highlight some of the processes already ongoing towards restructuring, we have embarked on a project to de-link the Office of the Master of the High Court from that of the Office of the Chief Registrar. As we may all be aware, the Office of the Master deals directly with issues that affect the most vulnerable members of our society, being those who have lost partners or loved ones and the welfare of children. These issues affect the daily lives of our people, and therefore the efficiency and ability of the Master's Office to deliver services on time must never be overlooked. It is therefore our intention that the Master's Office be made an independent institution from the administration of justice with its own resources. We are in the process and consultations with the Office of the President being the appointing authority to appoint on the appointment of the Master of the High Court. And we trust that before the end of the first quarter of this year, a master and assistant masters will be appointed for this country. That will thereafter be followed by the appointment of other officers who will support the Office of the Master in the various districts throughout the country. The Master will specifically be accountable for the budget of his or her office and be able to request for resources without relying on the resources allocated to the administration of justice. This process involves the employment, as I have already stated, of assistant masters who will serve in different regions of the country. We trust that as a result of this restructuring, the turnaround times of services rendered by the Master's Office will be significantly shortened. At present, there has been additional registrars and masters appointed to the Maung High Court, the Franston High Court, the Mahalape High Court, as well as to the Gaborone High Court, and this is only as a stopgap measure. But we need a more sustainable and dependable structure in place as a matter of agency. We wish to place you on record that in this regard, the Director of Public Service Management has been very supportive in a very material way. The Master's Office also deals with the Guardian Fund, whose beneficiaries are, in some instances, minor children who are in need of support and maintenance. The Master's Office outreach program for conducting meetings across the country for the distribution of payments of arrears for the deceased soldiers was completed in October 2025. The progress of disbursements of the funds is ongoing, with 296 beneficiaries having been paid thus far. Mr. President, we have taken note of the delays in the administration of estates of deceased persons. Some of these estates are generally not very complex and can be administered through our customary law system and very cheaply and efficiently by our Dukosi. We will be engaging with government and Dukosi with a view to amending both the Customary Courts Act and the Administration of Estates Act to empower our Dukosi to administer deceased estates in terms of customary law. Customary law, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, is our law, and it ought to be strengthened and respected to help speed up processes that do not necessarily require the application of received law. But let me hasten to apologize to our Dukhosi for having made our intentions public before consulting with them. It has to be noted, however, that at our last judicial conference in July 2025 at Palape, where our Dukhosi were represented, a resolution was adopted speaking to this envisaged reform. We have also commenced the restructuring of the magisterial bench as well as that of the registrarship. This process will result in increased jurisdiction for magistrates to enable judicial officers at any level to hear and determine cases registered within their station without the jurisdictional limitations as presently obtained. This will expedite service delivery. I must place it on record once more, Mr. President, that the Office of the Director of Public Service Management and that of the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Justice and Correctional Services have been very supportive in this exercise, and we hope that they will continue to be. I must also state, Mr. President, that government has taken a position to incorporate the industrial court as part of the administration of justice in order to bring under one roof all the justice delivery structures. Our desire is also that the land tribunal be elevated to the level of a court of record as part of the High Court. This will reduce the tiers through which land disputes in Botswana have to go through. That is, firstly, you have to go to the land board, go to the land tribunal, you appeal to the High Court, and ultimately to the Court of Appeal. In our preliminary assessment, it is our view that the incorporation of the industrial court as part of the administration of justice will ensure optimum utilization of all our human judicial resources. The judges of the industrial court will augment the complement of judges who will be available for more specialized judicial services, and this will improve service delivery. Still on reforms, Mr. President, I think it will be remiss of us if we did not acknowledge that there is currently proposals to establish a constitutional court for Botswana. I must assure Botswana that the judiciary was fully consulted in this exercise and on the need to establish a constitutional court. As the judiciary, we are directly affected by any development that seeks any restructuring of the courts of Botswana. Whilst it is not our call to make laws establishing any category of a court, but having closely studied the bill seeking to establish the constitutional court, we fully agree that the establishment of the constitutional court is long overdue. As the third arm of government in our constitutional democracy, we fully understand the urgent need to establish a constitutional court, and the value add it will bring, particularly readying ourselves for the ever-changing world. As you may have noted in our address, we are deliberate in restructuring even the services offered by our courts as presently structured in order to improve service delivery. We believe that specialized courts will bring about efficiency, quality judicial services, expeditious dispensation of justice, and a robust judicial system that answers to the needs of our times. This will also ensure a deliberate protection of human rights as envisaged in our Constitution. This explains why, Mr. President, we have established specialized criminal courts to speed up criminal cases, commercial courts to speed up commercial cases, and intend to establish family courts. In doing all these things, we are quite aware, Mr. President, that the country has no money for most of the things that we want done across all spheres of our economy and society. But our view is that each and every demanding aspect of the needs of our people must be addressed in an equitable way, and that we strive to be inclusive in our approach. The constitutional rights of all our people, including the minority and marginalized, cannot and should not be a subject of deferral. The doing of one important thing should not be viewed as necessarily meaning that another important thing should not be done. Our democratic institutions are key to the development of our country in a holistic manner. Our courts are the last bastion of our constitutional democracy, and their strengthening should be the desire of all of us. Our democratic institutions are all crying out for a transformative restructuring and strengthening. Those of you who have been in conflict or in contact with the law and its processes in our courts as presently structured will easily understand and appreciate the dire need for the establishment of a constitutional court. Now, on strengthening of stakeholder strengthening, Mr. President, the offices of the Attorney General and that of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions are key to the successful justice delivery system. We therefore urge government that as government continues to support our restructuring exercise, these two offices, that is the Office of the Attorney General and the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions, should also be strengthened by restructuring them in line with judicial restructuring. This is in order to avoid a situation whereby they may lose experienced personnel to the judiciary due to poor or unattractive conditions of service in their organizations, as compared to what may obtain in the judiciary in the event we are successful in our endeavors. Legislative reviews. In January 2025, the Trust and Property Control Act was amended to align the Act with the revised Financial Action Task Force, FATF, requirements in relation to trusts and implement recommendations for the non-profit organization terrorism financing sectoral risk assessment by providing mechanisms that prevent non-profit trusts from being abused for terrorism financing whilst avoiding undue disruption of their activities. Consequently, Botswana was in September 2025 upgraded by the Eastern and Southern Africa Anti-Money Laundering Group, SAMLAG, from the non-compliant rating to the largely compliant on recommendation 8 dealing with preventing non-profit organizations from being abused for terrorism financing. Furthermore, Mr. President, following the enactment of the Deputy Sheriff's Act, the regulations for the Deputy Sheriff's Act were developed and came into effect in March 2025. With the passage of the regulations, the Administration of Justice is in a position to regulate the affairs of the deputy sheriffs, their code of conduct, as they can now be held against such standards of performance, and their behavior measured against the code of conduct through the Office of the Sheriff. The Judicial Service Commission has already made recommendations to the President for the appointment of a sheriff for the courts of Botswana. This is an important office in the general administration of justice and the protection of consumers of legal services. Resources, Mr. President. Resources, Your Excellency. Resources, Your Excellency. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, we have in the past, as we will continue to do, done our very best with the little made available to us to deliver quality judicial services. However, the truth is that even with our best efforts at re-engineering our processes and the incremental use of technology, the shortage of human and financial resources continues to cripple our best efforts or our best plans. Our registries, Mr. President, which are the ports of entry of all our services, are understaffed. Shortage of court reporters responsible for transcription of records pose a real threat to the dispensation of justice, as appeals are not heard on time due to lack of records. We have ever tried to mitigate the backlog in the transcription of records by putting in measures such as the employment of retired court reporters on short contracts to enable them to deal with backlog of records. This will be achieved by relieving the serving court reporters who attend exclusively to outstanding court records, while the temporary court reporters will man the courts. We are going to be approaching government to help us in this regard. On the court facilities, Mr. President, a lot of our facilities are in a dilapidated state and in dire need of maintenance. We do not have a fully fledged facilities unit with dedicated staff that can attend to the maintenance of courts and judicial officers' houses. As a result, we have courtrooms that do not have air conditioning, judges' houses and other judicial officers' houses that for a long time have needed urgent maintenance. While we appreciate the assistance we have gotten from our line ministry, as well as from the Ministry of Finance, the Directorate of Public Service Management, and the Office of the President, we believe that there is an urgent need to have a relook at some of our requests, particularly in relation to court structures and the houses available for use by judicial officers. We will continue with our consultations with the relevant government departments to seek assistance on the resourcing of the judiciary. We, however, believe that it is possible to involve brigades and technical colleges in the maintenance of government buildings. This will also provide education with production without necessarily quoting Patrick van Rensburg. Planned projects, Mr. President. Mr. President, the Judiciary has made submissions to the National Development Plan 12 in the form of developmental projects of building court structures in areas where we saw the need. We are desirous of building the Kasane Magistrates Court, as well as a permanent court structure for Maung High Court. We also intend to re-evaluate our priorities. There is no magistrates court in the Tswapoing area, as well as in the Tutume area. There is also an urgent need for high court services in Khanti and the greater Kalahari area. We will continue to assess and re-evaluate and reprioritize the available options. We have also planned to improve on the existing reforms of judicial case management and to operationalize court-annexed mediation, which will assist in expediting cases and substantially reducing the cost of litigation. It is also our intention, Mr. President, to establish, I have already dealt with this one, the commercial court. In conclusion, as I close, I wish to thank all of you for your kind attention. I wish to thank government officials from various ministries, departments here with us today, government ministers, members of Ntoyadi Khosi, members of parliament, our various stakeholders, the Attorney General, the Law Society of Botswana, the Directorate of Public Prosecutions, Botswana Police Service, the Directorate on Corruption and Economic Crime, and many others who have continued to support us in the discharge of our mandate during the past calendar year. A special thank you to the Commander, Botswana Defence Force, for having availed the BDF band to provide the necessary pomp and ceremony to beautify this event. I thank the clergy, Baruti Bami, for their uplifting messages from the scriptures. It will be remiss of me if I were to fail to recognize the Deputy Registrar, Ms. Botha. Where is she? Ms. Botha? And your team. We have all been working tirelessly behind the scenes to put this event together. le ka moso ba gaetsho. Last but not least, I wish to thank very specially the members of the media who have covered this event in order to ensure that our message gets through to our people at home. I thank you all for having graced this ceremony and accordingly declare, with your permission, Mr. President, declare the legal year 2026 officially opened, and I thank you so very much for your kind attention. And I say, Ula! Ula! Thank you.
Thank you, my Lord, the Chief Justice, for the address. As introduced earlier on, my names are Bonolo Patricia Murale. I am the Deputy Registrar Lubatse High Court Division. I will be directing the last part of the program. Allow me to observe the protocol already established in the interest of time. At this particular juncture, I'll be inviting to the podium the Honorable Attorney General of the Republic of Botswana, Mr. Dick Bayford, to give us his address. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, kira the mic. Yeah, keep it fixed. All right. Directors of ceremony, the acting president of the Republic of Botswana, Your Excellency Ndaba Nkosinathi Gaolapelwe, the Honorable Chief Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe, the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Dithapelo Ketlogetswe, former President, Dr. Lieutenant General Seretse Khama Ian Khama, retired Chief Justice Marupin Dibotelo, retired Chief Justice Terence Rannoane, Honorable Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Mr. Ramaotwana Nelson Ramaotwana, Honorable Ministers and Assistant Ministers, the Honorable President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Tebogo Tau, Justices of the Court of Appeal, Judges of the High Court and Industrial Court, the Honorable Leader of Opposition, Honorable Dumelang Saleshando, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Khosi Arnold Somolekai of Gaborone West Phase 2, the Commander of the Botswana Defence Force, the Commissioner of Botswana Police, the Commissioner of Prisons, the Chairman of the Law Society, Mr. Lesedi Moahi, the Deputy Permanent Secretary to the President, Mayor Mabukule, Baruti Barona, Honorable Chief Justice, you have already rendered the necessary salutations and protocol, and I accordingly associate myself with it. And for that reason, I will not recite the entire protocol list. Please accept my apologies for that. The Honorable Chief Justice, this is my maiden speech as Attorney General of Botswana. And for that reason, the Honorable Chief Justice has graciously allowed me to pour my heart out. And I hope I don't disappoint in that regard. Ladies and gentlemen, and Your Excellency, the Acting President, the Honorable Chief Justice, it is both an honor and a solemn responsibility to address you at the opening of the 2026 legal year. I offer my remarks today as a legal practitioner and a servant of the Republic on this occasion that invites reflection on our justice system and a renewed commitment to its purpose. I thank the Honorable Chief Justice for the invitation to respond to his opening speech at this important event. The theme, the court as a public service, is timely and necessary. It speaks to the core of our constitutional democracy, that the administration of justice exists not for institutional preservation, but for the people it serves. The court plays a critical role in the dispensation of justice and is oftentimes understood within the broader context of the judiciary and the service it provides. Thus, while the theme of today is the court as a public service, I use judiciary interchangeably for ease of appropriateness when called for. Before I address today's theme, I take the liberty to write on the coattails of the Honorable Chief Justice in congratulating the recent appointees to the Court of Appeal and the High Court, amongst others. Our success as a nation, our success as a community will reflect your efforts and your commitment and adherence to the rule of law. This is a heavy burden that is vested upon you. You cannot afford to fail, and we wish you well. I would not be in a position to address you were it not for my forebearers in office who laid down foundation of what is currently the Attorney General's chambers. The Attorney General's chambers that I have inherited is a living testament to Mr. Alan Tilbury, the founding Attorney General of the Republic, who was at the helm of this office for the period 1961 to 1969. The late Mr. Moleleki Didwell Mogama, who assumed this office for the period 1969 to 1991. And I must say, I've had the opportunity of serving under the late Mogama, then as a rookie state counsel at Attorney General's chambers. Mr. Pandus Kelemani, who was at the helm of the chambers for the period 1992 to 2003. Justice Ian Stewart Kirby, who reigned for the period 2003 to 2005. Justice Dr. Atalia Molokomme, who was Attorney General for the period 2005 to 2016. Advocate Abram Kesabe, who was the Attorney General for the period 2017 to 2023. And my immediate predecessor, Justice Marco Abram, who held the fort for the period 2023 to 2025. These great men and women built, struggled, and toiled to establish an adaptive, progressive, and enlightened institution capable of withstanding the ravages of time and the constantly evolving legal landscape. I acknowledge them all, and some posthumously I thank them for their service and dedication to the law and the nation. I further acknowledge all the past and present lawyers and support staff at the Attorney General's chambers, without whom our best endeavors would not see the light of the day. They all deserve a vote of thanks. And shall we give them a round of applause? My Lord, the Honorable Chief Justice, for the majority of Botswana, the first interaction with a court occurs at the Khotla. It is therefore imperative that we recognize and honor the profound and enduring role that our Dikhosi play in the public service of the judiciary. Our traditional leaders are more than custodians of our heritage. They are the bedrock of our communal strength, guiding us through the intricacies of customary law and its ethos. The law and this particular regime of the law, deeply interwoven into the fabric of our daily lives, serves as a primary framework for social order and justice. It is time to acknowledge our customary norms and values and infuse them into our evolving socio-economic and political order. Our cultural legacy calls upon us to fully embrace human rights, not for selfish and individualistic ones, but as a part of a community, that individual rights are enjoyed through the growth and development of rights within the community. It is only when this approach to Boto is emphatically adopted that we, as a society, can truly claim to be fully human. The greatest human endeavor is to embrace our community and be a productive part of that society. This means engaging more and more with those around us in a manner that recognizes their individual value as part of a greater whole. With an imminent review of the Constitution, these communal values and the role of the Dikhosi in endearing these principles upon us all render their guidance essential and imperative. The application of Boto need not be entrenched in the anachronistic morality of our forefathers, but ought to be adapted to a modern context that promotes our current ethos, thereby ensuring that human rights not only promote individual rights, but empower the community in which they reside. We are, as individuals, a reflection of our community and vice versa. A special welcome and congratulations need to be given to the Botswana Defence Force and General Mpho Churchill Moputing in his new assignment. I join the Chief Justice in wishing him well and assure him of the support of the Attorney General's chambers. Judge Advocate General Abel Motaung warrants a notable welcome too. Democratic reform within the strict structure of military discipline is commendable. It requires dedication and respect for human rights that is meted within the setting of the court-martial. It is yet another facet of the judiciary, Honorable Chief Justice, and its outward-facing public service to those within our armed forces. To speak of the court as a public service is to affirm a simple truth. Justice is not a private good or a discretionary privilege. Justice is a constitutional entitlement intertwined with our cultural values, and our courts are public institutions tasked with resolving disputes, protecting rights, and upholding the rule of law in accessible, intelligible, and humane ways. A public service court, Honorable Chief Justice, if I may reiterate, is one that is accessible geographically, procedurally, and economically. It is one that is efficient without necessarily, though, sacrificing fairness. It is one that is independent, yet accountable to constitutional values and the people it serves. It is one that is human-centered, one that recognizes that behind every case is a lived human experience. Applying these principles strengthens public confidence by anchoring judicial authority in service and trust rather than distance and fear. Our Constitution is premised on the protection of human dignity, equality, and freedom. The court is the guardian of these sacrosanct human values. But our Constitution is more than a mere legal text. It is, in a very real sense, a promissory note, echoing the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a solemn undertaking made by the state to its people. Like all promises, its value lies not in its text alone, but in the good faith, discipline, and the commitment to those entrusted with giving it life. The constitutional promise is only as strong as the conduct of those who interpret, apply, defend, and obey it. Ultimately, its strength is measured by the fidelity of every citizen and the institution to its spirit. The Attorney General's chambers sustain this promise through constitutional fidelity in litigation and advice. The Attorney General's chambers' legal approach acts as the currency by which this constitutionally promissory note is either honored or devalued. A human rights approach to litigation and legal advice recognizes contextual justice, that rights evolve with societal experience and changing norms. Our understanding of rights realization must adapt over time and to contemporary realities. Honorable Chief Justice and Your Excellency, the Acting President. Addressing the scourge of gender-based violence, particularly when it affects marginalized women and persons, is a necessity in effecting the constitutional promise of equality. Laws that excuse marital rape, impose gender-stereotyped evidentiary burdens, or penalize perceived immoral conduct perpetuate inequality. Contextual justice ensures that access to justice is not contingent on conforming to a particular gendered ideal. When GBV survivors expect bias or prejudice when reporting, they are less likely to engage with legal institutions, eroding trust and weakening constitutionalism. Judicial reform, understood as a part of ensuring the promise of justice for all, as realized in practice, is crucial for strengthening public trust. And so, what is the stewardship of the Attorney General's chambers in all this matrix? As the principal legal advisor to government and its chief litigator, my chambers hold a unique and essential position, contributing to the quality of public service through our conduct, philosophy, and litigation strategy, which is the currency of the Attorney General's chambers. Under my tenure, I have formulated a core tenet of the chambers that I lead, which is that a human rights-oriented approach to the law is our highest fulfillment to the nation. Government litigation has often been perceived as purely adversarial. While legal rigor is non-negotiable, a philosophy that stops there undervalues our constitutional democracy. The state I serve is both people-centric and people-organized. My lords, I wish to categorically state that when chambers appear before you, they do so not as against the citizen, but for the constitutional order, which centers on dignity and the rights of that citizenry. A human rights-oriented approach to litigation entails, one, responsible state litigation. That is that the state must litigate with restraint, candor, and proportionality, not always pursuing every technical advantage or exploiting every procedural defect. Secondly, constitutional fidelity. When legislation or executive conduct is challenged constitutionally, the Attorney General's role is to assist the court in reaching a sound outcome, upholding the Constitution's underlying promise of freedom and human dignity, rather than defending indefensible positions. Right, consistent interpretation, and I say, and I undertake to you, Honorable Chief Justice, that my chamber's submissions ought to and will favor legal interpretations that promote rights, dignity, and equality consistent with our Constitution, especially for the most marginalized of our people. This pro-constitutionalist approach acknowledges that the state's power and legitimacy comes from loyalty to the constitutional promise of justice, equality, and human dignity. The judiciary, Honorable Chief Justice, cannot achieve its public service vision in isolation. The court requires competent, ethical, and adequately resourced institutional partners like the Attorney General's chambers. Our mission to provide excellent and prompt legal services to government requires resources. Your Excellency, as alluded to by the Honorable Chief Justice, current demands on Attorney General's chambers and the judiciary are significant. These include an increased litigation on constitutional matters, complex commercial agreements, law revision, and sophisticated advisory work. These demands are, however, met by stretched human resources, creating a mismatch between the state's growing complexity and our legal capacity, which contributes to delays. It is undeniable that to meaningfully support a public-serving judiciary, chambers must be adequately staffed with experienced litigators and specialists. It must be strengthened in terms of career progression and professional development. The executive must also enhance specialization for higher quality advocacy. And there must be a decided and formed intention on the part of the executive to ensure uniform pay for the public service lawyers. There must be an improvement of infrastructure for an efficient, conducive work and environment. Under-resourcing the Attorney General's chambers burdens the executive. It delays justice, and it comes as a disservice to the public. Work conditions are not fit for purpose. Work conditions which are not fit for purpose can only undermine the effectiveness of the Attorney General's chambers across all its divisions. All divisions within the Attorney General's chambers play a direct role in advancing the judiciary as a public service. The International and Commercial Division is tasked with 5 main objectives, which are provision of legal advice, legal opinions, drafting of commercial agreements, provision of advice, and drafting international agreements, as well as the drafting of specialized instruments of ratification. The division ensures that Botswana's cross-border engagements operate within predictable legal framework, supporting economic development. In line with its mandate, the division received a total of 1,356 requests for legal advice and general opinions, 248 opinions for commercial agreements, 219 for international agreements, and 74 for specialized instruments for the year ended 2025. The Legislative Drafting Division also performs a foundational public service by creating clear, coherent, and constitutionally sound legislation, embedding constitutional values and human rights from the outset, thereby easing the court's interpretive burden. Together, these divisions show that justice as a public service is not limited to the courtrooms, but is a cohesive system promoting confidence in our laws and proactive management of legal risk. Therefore, investing in the legal capacity of the Attorney General, Your Excellency, the Acting President, is an economic and constitutional necessity. Last year, the Legislative Drafting Division was particularly dynamic. It facilitated the passing by Parliament, Honourable Speaker, of 29 Acts of Parliament, 168 statutory instruments, and 829 government notices. The Attorney General's Chambers is updating and simplifying our statute book, and engaging Blackwall Publishing to clear the backlog and update the laws of Botswana to December 31st, 2025. The Honourable Chief Justice, I am fully committed to the principle of judicial integrity. Based on this commitment, I have taken the initiative to use my power as Law Revision Commissioner under the Revision of the Laws Act to remove from the statute book all laws that the court has struck down as unconstitutional, thereby ensuring that our legal framework is constitutionally compliant. In alignment with the theme, Court as a Public Service, we acknowledge that complex legal language undermines the rule of law by creating barriers for citizens. In a pioneering initiative, the Attorney General's Chambers, in collaboration with Parliament, has established a Simplification of Acts Committee. This committee will provide simplified, easily understandable summaries of each Act of Parliament, initially in English, with future plans to translate same into indigenous languages. This will ensure that every Motswana understands the laws of the country. Honourable Chief Justice, the Civil Litigation Division of the Attorney General's Chambers has a complement of 36 attorneys across the length and breadth of the country. Over the last year, this division received 2,662 actual cases, of which 232 were urgent applications. This figure does not include statutory notices, which are by law served upon the Attorney General before commencement of any proceedings before any court. And Honourable Chief Justice, we are currently undergoing an internal audit to ascertain the current workload of attorneys at the Attorney General's chambers and the status of each and every case that we are handling. The Disk Registry and Legal Services departments are vital to our economy and land tenure system, despite often being unnoticed. Secure land tenure and defined ownership rights are foundational for economic stability, fostering investment and productivity. Let me address you specially, Honorable Chief Justice and Your Excellency, the Acting President, particularly with regard to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I must commence by stating that crime and corruption are societal failures, undermining democratic values and human rights. Corruption assaults the rule of law and impedes sustainable development, whilst illicit financial flows directly undermine the constitutional promissory note. The Director of Public Prosecution is constitutionally mandated under Section 51A of the Constitution, and it operates within the Attorney General's chambers. He is tasked to handle criminal prosecutions and appeals consistent with justice as a public service. A fully independent Director of Public Prosecutions, both in terms of prosecutorial discretion and administratively, cannot be overemphasized. For this reason, the DPP must be allocated its own budgetary vote, and that is our prayer to Your Excellency, the Acting President. The power to prosecute significantly impacts liberty, reputation, and public confidence in the state. Thus, it is imperative to insulate prosecutorial decision-making from improper influence whilst maintaining accountability. Such a reform will strengthen and enhance justice. The DPP's autonomy, with statutory safeguards and transparent accountability, would enhance professional independence and coordination with other justice sector institutions. The DPP cannot be seen to be renting a chair under the Attorney General's chambers. A structurally independent Director of Public Prosecutions is better positioned to exercise discretion impartially, without fear or favor, and to sustain public trust, which is indispensable to the promise of justice as a public service. Honorable Chief Justice, it will be remiss of me in this address to omit to touch on the currently ongoing constitutional reform and the establishment of an apex court, a new apex court, to be known as the Constitutional Court. And I hasten to say that a discussion of the judiciary as a public service would not be complete without reference to the ongoing constitutional reform. A constitution as a living promise needs mechanisms to guide it through periods of national reflection and change. The proposal for a constitutional court is significant. The court should be a specialized forum for interpreting, enforcing, protecting human rights, and the Constitution itself. It would ensure that constitutional amendments and reform comply with human rights and principles and democratic norms. The Constitutional Court will strengthen public confidence in the judiciary, Your Excellency, the acting president. It will act as an independent and expeditious safeguard against arbitrariness or majoritarian access, and guaranteeing that reform is democratic, legal, inclusive, and reasoned. The Constitution itself mandates democratic participation and direct public consultation for entrenched constitutional provision. It contemplates referenda for judicial amendments and establishment of the envisaged apex court. This process reinforces the legitimacy of constitutional change and aligns reform with principle of the Constitution as shared civil compact. A constitutional court and adherence to mandated referenda are complementary pillars of a public service judiciary, safeguarding democratic processes of constitutional renewal. For Captain of Industries and development partners, the judiciary as a public service is critical. Legal certainty, timely dispute resolution, principled adjudication are essential for economic confidence. An efficient, transparent, and rights-respecting justice system lowers the cost of doing business. It encourages investment. It promotes labor stability and strengthens Botswana's international reputation as rules-based democracy. Economic development and a human rights-oriented judiciary are not contradictory. Sustainable growth requires trusted, predictable, and fair institutions. Let me address the position, the important position that is occupied by the Law Society of Botswana. The Law Society of Botswana is a crucial partner in aligning the judiciary as a public service. No justice system can function without a strong, independent, and principled legal profession. As the collective voice of practitioners, the Legal Society of Botswana promotes professional ethics and fidelity to the rule of law, acting as a guardian of legality and as an essential intermediary between the judiciary, the state, and the citizen. The relationship between the judiciary, Law Society, and the Attorney General is complementary. It is bound by a shared commitment to constitutional supremacy, access to justice, and the integrity of the legal process. For my chambers, the Law Society is an indispensable collaborator. Through principled advocacy and critique, it strengthens state litigation and constitutional dialogue. A confident state welcomes such engagement as rigorous feedback clarifies the law and it sustains public trust. Recognizing the Law Society is an acknowledgement of an important partner in the quest for ensuring that justice remains independent, ethical, and rooted in public service. In conclusion, Honorable Chief Justice, I would submit to you and your ladyships and lordships that the court is a function of public service in one which the public can see, feel, and trust. Trust, Honorable Chief Justice, is earned through fairness, accessibility, competence, humanity, and respect for human dignity. Our Constitution, as a promissory note to the people of Botswana, demands constant renewal through conduct. Every legal action either affirms or erodes that promise, making justice a continuous endeavor. As Attorney General, I affirm my office's commitment to 1, responsible and principled litigation. 2, a rights-oriented and people-centered understanding of the public service. 3, institutional strengthening of legal services to the government and unwavering respect for judicial independence, coupled with constructive institutional cooperation. By enhancing a more humane and constitutionally faithful approach to litigation and legal services, we strengthen the state. We signal to citizens, investors, and our international development partners that Botswana's constitutional democracy is sustained not by power, but by principle. To the people of Botswana, I commit that the law is yours. My chambers is committed to ensuring that in every legal encounter, your dignity is respected, your voice heard, and your rights are our central concern. Let us, the bench, the bar, recommit to justice as a service. Let us work together to make this service a daily, tangible reality for every Botswana, fulfilling the promise upon which our republic is built: good governance, rule of law, and respect for human dignity. I wish the judiciary, the legal profession, and the Republic of Botswana a productive, principled, and people-centered legal year. Honorable Chief Justice, I accordingly move for the official opening of the 2026 legal year. Pula.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, the Honorable Attorney General. My Lord, the Honorable Chief Justice, allow me to now invite to the podium the Chairperson of the Law Society of Botswana, Mr. Lesedi Moagi. Sir. Is it on?
Am I okay? I think I should be good. Just put it down here, like the other speakers. Huh? This thing's working. Okay. The Director of Ceremonies, the Acting President, Mr. Ndaba Gaolapelwe, my good friend, Honorable Chief Justice Ketlogetswe, the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Gaolapelwe, former President, Lieutenant General Khama, retired Chief Justice Marupin Dibotelo and Terence Ramnwani, the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Mr. Nelson Ramotwana, all our ministers and assistant ministers here and present, the Honorable President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Tebo Hotau, Justice of Appeal and the High Court and the Industrial Court, Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Dimelan Salashando, Your Excellencies, Diplomatic Corps, my good friend, Khosisi Molokai, the Commander of Botswana Defense Force, General Muputing, Commissioner of Police, the Commissioner of Prisons, ladies and gentlemen, the protocol has been observed, and might I ride on that? My address is a fairly short one, but hopefully straight to the point. Might I add to the list of bereavements as stated by the Honorable Chief Justice that in the course of the immediately past judicial year, we have lost our former Executive Secretary, Mr. Tebogo Mipolai. In addition to that list, we also have Attorney Son Seisa. We have Attorney Peter Achiampong, Attorney Kakanyo Pefa Mukwena, and the former Justice of the Court of the High Court of the Republic of Botswana, Justice Mosen Chinengo. Might their souls rest in peace. I thank you. Your Lordship, the Chief Justice, and Your Excellency, the Acting President, I speak here today out of the duty to the profession, to the public, and to the Constitution. The Law Society raises matters of concern not to weaken institutions, but to safeguard the rule of law and to ensure that the public trust in our legal system does not erode, no matter how unwittingly. History has shown that once confidence in the legal institution is eroded, it is exceptionally difficult to restore. Remarks that follow, therefore, are made in the spirit. The remarks that follow, therefore, are made in the spirit of constitutional stewardship, bearing in mind the duty of the society to the public, its members, and the judiciary. Silence in the face of a systemic weakness would amount to an acquiescence. Like we say, we cannot keep quiet when there's an obligation to speak. Otherwise, we are defying the very purpose of our existence. Your Lordship, might I move to the Law Society of Botswana mandate and paradox? The Law Society of Botswana mandate is, amongst others, the regulation of legal professionals, the maintenance of professional standards, the promotion of legal education, and assisting the government and the courts in all matters affecting the administration of justice and the practice of the law. I hope and trust I'm not as fast as I'm always am in the course of my delivery. Delivering this mandate has over the years proven to be a challenge amid the persistent lack of financial resources as has been constantly stated by my predecessors in this very podium. As an ordinary member, perhaps once I appreciated this difficulty only in abstract, but now, having served in leadership, I now understand with clarity and the depth, the extent to which the institutional constraints affect our ability, my Lord, to discharge our statutory responsibilities. The paradox is stark and enduring. The society is expected to regulate, discipline, supervise, educate, and safeguard the profession, while being denied the institutional support required to do so effectively by, amongst other things, Honorable Attorney General, the refusal by public service lawyers to pay subscriptions to the Law Society. Appeals made in the presence of all relevant authorities have yielded little or no tangible response, despite energies and commitment we received from the stakeholders, prompting us to make a public announcement at this sitting last year. This notwithstanding, my Lord, the society persists because to retreat would be to abandon both the profession and the public to which we exist to serve. Faced with these limited options, my Lord, to fully execute our mandate amid financial dire straits we find ourselves in, against the compelling reasons to succeed, we have in the meantime engaged the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Honorable Nelson Ramaotwana, to take advantage of the provisions of the Legal Practitioners Act and by statutory instrument, increase the number of the disciplinary committee members from 5 to 9, such that at any given point, any 3 members sitting can form a quorum and deal with the backlog respecting the complaints by members of the public against legal practitioners. I'm embarrassed, my Lord, to say that despite this having been put at the doorstep of the Honorable Minister, this request is yet to receive any attention, let alone an acknowledgement. I move, my Lord, to the judiciary undertaking, structural failure and service delivery. Your Lordship, in your inaugural address at the opening of the year last year, you acknowledged the discernible decline in public trust and confidence in the judiciary. You undertook that your tenure would be characterized by humility, efficiency, transparency, and renewed respect for the rights of the court users. You further emphasized the importance of resourcing the justice ecosystem, both quantitatively and qualitatively, as a prerequisite for a functioning constitutional democracy. The challenges identified, my Lord, in our respectful view, are yet to be resolved. The Law Society of Botswana has engaged the administration of justice consistently and in good faith, including through quarterly meetings with your office and judge presidents. Despite these engagements, my Lord, there has been little or no traction on at least concerns raised by the society, prompting us to make a further reflection on whether the continued engagement, absent the reciprocal responsiveness, remains effective. Across the country, my Lord, the physical condition of court infrastructure continues to deteriorate. Court buildings are dilapidated, maintenance is sporadic, and in some courts, there are periodic shortages of basic amenities, including running water and printing paper. These are not just minor inconveniences, my Lord, but they undermine the dignity of the judicial proceedings and erode the confidence in the justice system. My Lord, the chronic understaffing further compounds these challenges. Delays in replacing judicial officers and support staff, transfer or resignations have left the courts overstretched and inefficient. This shortage directly affects the turnaround times, case management, and the morale and the well-being of the court personnel. I appreciate, my Lord, that in your address, you indicated that there are no vacancies available, all the vacancies have been filled. I wish to state, my Lord, as of record, that I appeared before Kenya Magistrate in January 2026 before Her Worship Kwadi. That court had to wait for the other court to finish for it to begin its proceedings. But we'll just assume that those officials were possibly on festive leave. My Lord, the lack of ICT infrastructure, including internet connectivity, functional case management system, and adequate digital tools, has become endemic. Courts frequently without sufficient stationary and basic administrative resources. These failures not only delay justice, but reflect working conditions that make it increasingly difficult for the court staff, my Lord, to perform their respective duties. Now, the subtopic that has always formed the address of this occasion by myself and my predecessors, Judicial Appointment and Judicial Service Commission. Public confidence in the judiciary, my Lord, is inseparable from confidence in the process by which judges are appointed. The Law Society has for many years raised concern regarding judicial appointments, including composition and operation of the Judicial Service Commission. These concerns, my Lord, were brought into sharp focus in December 2025 when the Judicial Service Commission reverted to a practice the society has understood to have been abandoned. A meeting of the commission was convened on urgency by late night call to members of the JSC, scheduling it for the following morning, culminating to the appointment of a judge without prior advertisement of the position. This, my Lord, is notwithstanding your undertaking as Chief Justice upon assumption of your office that judicial and quasi-judicial appointments shall be made with prior advertisement to all deserving candidates in the interest of transparency and fairness to continue upholding public confidence. This position was communicated to our members only for a derogation without prior notice to occur, to the shock of everyone. My Lord, this unexplained departure has gravely betrayed our expectation, I must say, and damaged the relationship between the Law Society and the administration of justice. The society has resolved to seek appropriate redress to remedy this situation and set aside the appointment. In this regard, my Lord, we yet again demand a clear rules and regulations on appointment of judicial officers and quasi-judicial officers. While we await your response, my Lord, and as the head of the JSC, we are actively considering options, amongst others, withdrawing our nominated member from the Judicial Service Commission until this issue is addressed satisfactorily. And to you, Justice Abraham, I must say, this is not about you, but about the procedure adopted in your appointment. We would have still challenged it had it been my good friend Chief Justice being appointed. This development must be viewed against the broader structural concerns, including dominance of the executive in the composition of the Judicial Service Commission, the absence of binding and transparent appointment framework, and the consequent erosion of public confidence in the judicial independence. The net effect of this, of these sporadic appointments, that the society has observed a tendency in certain courts to truncate proceedings, my Lord, collapse argument, or prematurely conclude trials, not because the law demands it, but seemingly to manage backlog and institutional pressure to produce judgment. Such practices, my Lord, undermine the right to be fully heard and corrode the confidence in adjudication. This, we say, is all thanks to appointment of otherwise undeserving individual to the bench, which the society has spoken of over the years. This issue, my Lord, and a lot more others raised in our address at this occasion last year, which I need not reiterate, are yet to be addressed, necessitating a further reflection on whether or not these continued engagements at our quarterly meetings with the society, by the society with the OOJ. A further reflection, my Lord, on whether or not the continued engagement serves the society, or it's best we withdraw from such until some level of commitment to addressing our concerns is achieved, not only in rhetoric, but in action. On demanding that these issues be addressed, we were called upon by the Chief Justice to put our concerns in writing, which we did. But unfortunately, we still await a response from your office, my Lord. For avoidance of doubt and for clarity in as far as I know facts to be, there has not been any new engagement on the appointment of judges. The Law Society has a position paper on judicial appointments, which to my knowledge, the proposal remains extant and is yet to be given effect to. My Lord, I now move to the Constitutional Court role, context, and major reflection. The Law Society, my Lord, on the proposed establishment of the Constitutional Court is set out in its published position paper, to which we continue to refer. The position remains that constitutional reform should be approached holistically, deliberately, and through broad-based consultation. We call for a public education on proposed constitutional amendments, Your Excellency, or constitutional reviews to precede any amendment, thereby ensuring that citizens are able to endorse or reject an amendment based on an informed understanding, free from emotional, religious, or partisan considerations. And in so doing, Your Excellency, please don't leave your ministers out. If the essence and the effect of the establishment of the Constitution is misunderstood by the very proponents of the people that are seeking for it to be established, then your guess on the outcome in the engagement of the members of the public, Your Excellency, is as good as mine. A constitutional court does not exist to create law. Lawmaking authority rests with Parliament, which is under the Botswana's constitutional arrangement, is the supreme lawmaking body. The role of the Constitution, of the Constitutional Court, is not to interpret the Constitution. My apologies. The role of the Constitutional Court is to interpret the Constitution, adjudicate constitutional disputes, and safeguard constitutional supremacy. It is therefore important that public discourse properly contextualize the functions of such court. Many constitutional questions have arisen before, my Lord, and have been competently addressed within the existing court structures, which has historically risen to its occasion. Constitutional safeguard, in our view, my Lord, remains firmly in place. While a standalone constitutional court is desirable in principle, the agency currently being advanced risks overstating both its necessity and its function, particularly when weighed against the pressing challenges within the justice system, including infrastructure decay, understaffing, inefficiency, and unresolved concerns regarding judicial appointments. Something that at least myself and my friend, Chief Justice, are in agreement on. Your Lordship, permit me to move my address to law enforcement, public trust, and accountability. Public trust in the justice system depends not only on the courts, but also on the law enforcement and security agencies. Recent events involving Directorate of Corruption and Community Crime and Directorate of Intelligence and Security Services have raised serious public concern. The matter, but to mention, involving the Ambassador Bridget Motsepe, which required presidential intervention and public apology, underscored the gravity of these concerns. Beyond that apology, however, the public has not been taken into confidence. There has not been a transparent accounting of institutional failure or clarity on corrective actions. A public trust cannot survive prolonged trust. Public trust cannot survive prolonged silence. The Law Society expects action and expects it soon. We call for the public to you call for a public account on what went wrong, what remedial steps have been taken, and how the recurrence will be prevented. We further call upon the public to join hands in demanding this accountability. These obligations cannot be divorced from the Office of the Attorney General, the principal legal advisor to the government. Continued defense of questionable conduct without corrective intervention undermines legality and public confidence alike. But we are happy that we have been given the guarantee that it will be a thing of the past. Personal accountability and charging of public officers. In this regard, it is apposite to recall that in his inaugural address, Mr. President Duma Gideon Boko urged government conduct itself with fairness and restraint in litigation against citizens, cautioning against excessive adversarialism and the resort to technical stratagems where the state has plainly erred. And to this, Mr. Acting President, convey this to the President that we commend that approach. The concern is rendered even more acute where government ultimately fails on such litigation. For in those circumstances, it is not the decision maker or the overzealous public officer who bears the consequences, but the taxpayer who left to foot the bill for the adverse costs orders and wasted public expenditure. It is for this reason, my Lord, that the Law Society intends to begin advocating more forcefully for the personal accountability of public officers, including those in parastatals, whose conduct precipitates unnecessary, unjustified, or plainly indefensible litigation, including through surcharging of such officers where appropriate. Absent such accountability, my Lord, the cycle of recklessness, litigation, impunity, and unavoidable fiscal loss to the public purse is likely to persist. The society will pursue these reforms through structured engagement, including engagement with the Office of the Attorney General. Attorneys within that office must be afforded professional respect due to legal professionals and should not be intimidated or overridden by those they represent, especially permanent secretaries. We call upon the incoming Attorney General to assist in entrenching this culture, thereby giving practical effect to the President's call for fairness and restraint in state litigation. Professional conduct and decorum. The society must also speak inwardly. Professional conduct and courtroom decorum are integral to the public confidence in the justice system. Declining standards of attire, especially amongst our female colleagues, both junior and senior alike, erode the dignity and the authority of the courts. This issue has arisen in one of our quarterly meetings with the AOJ, and we have mutually agreed, my colleagues, with the Judge President and the Chief Justice that any officer who appears in court improperly dressed should be thrown out. And cause for such collapse be borne is proprius by such a practitioner. When litigants enter the courtroom, they must encounter an institution that commands respect and reflect equality, seriousness, and discipline. Practitioners are reminded that professional freedom does not eclipse institutional responsibility. In conclusion, my Lord, we raise these matters to safeguard the rule of law and to ensure public trust in our legal system. Silence in the face of dysfunction would be a great failure. The Law Society remains committed, my Lord and Your Excellency, The Law Society remains committed to principled engagement, constitutional governance, and fearless defense of the rule of law with mutual respect to all deserving parties. For the council that I lead, my Lord, our success or lack thereof will be determinable from the issues raised in our engagements with various stakeholders, especially the administration of justice and correctional service, as will become clear in the course of our engagement going forward. With that said, my Lord, I second the motion to declare the 2026 legal year opened. And with that, I say, Pula.
Thank you, Chairperson of the Law Society, Mr. Moahi. This marks the close of the court session, and may we all rise on our feet.
Let's bow our lords. Let's bow.
You are kindly requested to allow the acting president and his entourage to leave the courtroom first, and the rest of us should remain seated for further announcements.
Ewela jalo thulaganyo ya go simolodisa ngwaga wa ditsheko wa 2026 re ne re utlwa pego kgotsa tekodiso ka the Honorable Chief Justice Gaolapelwe Ketlogetswe a supa jalo gore mo tsatsing la gompieno o na le ngwaga jalo a tshwere maemo a bo Chief Justice me a supa jalo gore mo ngwageng o neng a ntse a tshegeditse maemo a o ne a na le diphitlhelelo tse di harologaneng a supa jalo gore lephata la bosekisi le ne la lephata la bosekisi le ne la thoma jalo baatlhodi ba kgotla kgolo ya ditsheko ba le 12 ba le 7 jalo ba nna 30 ko kgotleng kgolo ya ditsheko me ba tlhoma jalo baatlhodi ba le 12 ko kgotleng kgolo ya boikuelo a tswela supa jalo gore ba tla tswela jalo ba tlhoma commercial court leng gore ta bo itebagantse le go seka dikgang tse leng gore ke tsa dikgwebo a supa jalo gore o netehatsa jalo gore ka kgwedi eo ya March khotla kgolo e tla bong e dilale dikgang tsa dikgwebo kgotsa commercial court e tabo e simolodisiwa jalo mo ngwageng o ka kgwedi ya March mengwe ya diphitlhelelo tse leng gore ona di supa jalo ke gore gone go a tlhomiwa jalo khotla kgolo ya ditsheko kwa motseng wa Mahalape ka kgwedi ile ya November 2025 me a supa jalo gore khotla kgolo ya ditsheko mo bogompienong e teng setšhaba se ka e dirisa me a tswela supa jalo gore mo matshwenyegong a di record management system kgotsa go tlhoka go nna le record ya dikatlholo tse di nileng teng mo nakong e hitileng ba berekisana jalo kgotsa ba tshwaragane le sekolo sa abused go tla ka maranyane a ileng gore a ta thusa go hedisa maranyane a record management system a ileng gore di bui ka go harologana le batho ba neng ke buisana le bone mo mosong ono ba supile a tshwenya thata mo go tsa bosekisi me bile ba supa jalo gore mathata a ditsheko so re sologela gore mathata a jaanong a ka tshwaragano le sekolo sa abused a tla helela a rarabolotswe me a tswalla a supa jalo gore ile ba lephata la bosekisi ba emenokeng mogopolo wa gore go nne le constitutional court kgotsa khotla ya molao motheo e leng gore puso e ne ya ntsha mogopolo wa gore go nne le constitutional court a supa jalo gore it is timely and they fully support and agree with the establishment of the constitutional court e leng gore puso e tswelela batla go itlhoma mo lehatsheng leno mme mongwe wa dibui tse leng gore o ne wa a bua ke Dick Bayford a supa jalo gore ba ta netefatsa jalo gore ba akaretsa mongwe le mongwe mo gore mongwe le mongwe a nne le a itsheke mme ebile a itsheke mo lehatsheng lothe ka bophara go sa kgathalesege gore o ha kae mo lehatsheng leno mme ha ke setse ke garela ke supe jalo gore moeteledipele wa Loyal Society Attorney Lesedi Moagi o ne a supa jalo gore ba ngongwaregela ka ha batlhodi ba tlhomiwang ka teng mo lehatsheng leno mme ba supa jalo gore go tlhapiwa ga batlhodi mo go nne mo mpepeneneng mme ebile ditiro tse e leng gore di a hirelwa tsa boatlhodi di nne mo mpepeneneng gore mongwe le mongwe a kgone a itekelesego mme a tsewe ka gore wa kgona mme go tsweng mo go nna le barulaganyi ba thulaganyo e ka kwano ke a re sala le modimo.